So Glasgow, we got the equator, we've got the Tropic of Capricorn, Cancer, and then we get up to 55, 54 degrees north, and we get to England. We'll get to London.
Yeah.
And then you go further north to get to Edinburgh. Okay, so we know that if you're in, on the equator at midday on equinox, there's no shadow. People have told me that. There's no shadow. Why? The sun is directly above you, yes? Now, the further I go away from that point of light, the longer the shadow my body will create. You've seen this with a lamp at night, yeah? So you're just giving me that same example, is that the source of light, whether you're on the globe model or the flat model, is, say, central over the equator. The further someone is away from that, the longer their shadow will become. That's it. That's all, and I can explain that. But I've been to Dubai, and I've seen the sunset in the terminal building, and then a little while later, climbed on the plane. A little while later, the plane takes off. Then I see the sun again. Like, that's not possible. If I've only gone to 30,000 feet, that's not possible to see over the globe for all the distance that they say. So we know that, like with the Burj, you can 700, 800 meters high. You know that your friends on the beach, they've got sunset, and you go, no, I'm still roasting in the sun here. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but
because
that proof is so cool.
that's you see, that's about perspective. Like, you see the towers of London that you will see from the distance when you approach London, Docklands and stuff like that. You will see the tops first, yes. But that's not because we're going around a ball, bro. You can do that on a flat desert and get the exact same thing. Is that the ship's mast, where the crow's nest is the tallest place. So you will get the furthest range of view. Someone who's in a 10-story building, they're seeing so far. Someone who's 30, 40 stories up, they can see much further. Yes, that's about angle of resolution. And so all of these things we can explain. The same with the ship. Is that if you're right at the bottom of the picture and you're looking at that ship from the beach going away, yes, you're going to lose the bottom because you're right at the bottom of that picture. But if I took you in a hot air balloon to 200 meters, you'd say, oh, I can see all of the ship now. And if I took you to 30,000 feet and over the Mediterranean as I've flown, I'm like, well, I can see ships dotted on a mirror, like for 100 kilometers in each direction. That's not curving, bro. That's what water does. That's water being flat. But if it's curving, okay, so if it's curving, you may have missed me say this earlier, but if it's curving, so I'm standing on the beach and it's curving down towards France.
Yeah, because it's curved, yeah.
Okay. Yes. When I get to France and come back, am I going uphill? No. So think about it, bro. You've been brainwashed your whole life, so you're not going to get over this today. I don't expect you to, but think about that, because I grew up by the sea. My dad's in shipping, and so the first time I heard there's a curvature formula for the globe, I was like, okay, let me plot that into my life experience and go, how far can I really see, honestly, on a clear day, at night or in the daytime, how far can I see up the coast, or how far can I really see something clear far away? And the truth is, I can see much further than the curvature formula allows for. Because even at 10 miles, they say you should lose 800 inches. You should lose, 60 feet or something in just 10 miles. And we know that we can see from France, we can see the White Cliffs of Dover, all of it on a clear day. A guy sent me a photo of it just the other day. He's an airline pilot, worked for Ryanair for 30 years, and he says the Earth is not a curved blow. We're not flying around anything. We get up to cruise altitude, 1.5 degrees up.
You are flying.
It's going to take a while, my brother. I don't.
Flying on a flat surface.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, even the flight manuals say treat the Earth as though it's not moving and it's flat. That's why we've got NASA documents that say building craft for a non-rotating flat Earth. Why would they do that on a globe? There's NASA released documents from the 70s and 80s that say this kind of stuff. If we were flying on a plane, right, and on a globe, and we're flying 600 miles an hour, we would have to make a certain amount of adjustment to go around this ball. I fly to South Africa quite often, 11 hours, quarter of the way around the ball. In other words, my perpendicular has gone from here to 90 degrees, right? It's changed. Nothing in my water bottle, nothing in my body, nothing in my digital spirit level, nothing, gyroscope, will show me that I've done anything but remain perfectly level. Excusers of the gravity will say, no, but that's gravity is cleverly just adjusting to a new, a new level wherever you fly. Well, that's bullshit. They've been around.
When you fly to the United States, for example, it takes a certain amount of time, but then when you fly back, it takes less time.
How much less?
45 minutes.
Okay, so you know there's something
45
called
minutes and an hour.
yeah. So there's something called the what do they call them? There's
Excuse me,
certain
that's the theory, because when you fly over there, okay, you're flying in the same sense of the rotation.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so when you fly back, you're flying against the rotation.
Okay.
That's why you come faster.
how fast is the Earth rotating?
I don't know.
I'll tell you. So I'll save you the. I'll say because I had to look at all of this stuff in order because I'm 57, 8 years old, and I had to. For most of my life, I believed in the globe. So in order to kind of test it, honestly, I had to go and review everything and go, okay, so how does this work? What's the curvature for this? How much is it spinning at the equator? Faster than the speed of sound. It's traveling at over 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, and no plane commercial flies that fast. So how can it catch up to, back in the 1800s, a very clever, intelligent lady took a hot air balloon up and she said, if the Earth is spinning, I'm going to go up for an hour and come down in France. Doesn't happen like that.
Nope.
It doesn't happen like that. In fact, the Red Bull jump, the guy was free of the Earth for more than 2.5 hours on his slow ascent, and then he's falling down. He fell 45 kilometers in the opposite direction of the Earth's spin. He, at 2.5 hours, at 1,000 miles an hour, should have been so far away. But
That's I don't know the name of the physical theory, but like for example, if I'm driving my car,
yeah,
there's a fly inside my car.
yeah,
The fly is floating, but the fly is traveling as fast as my car.
got it.
The fly is
Yeah,
not flying
great.
that fast.
Did you hear
The
this
fly is
question?
standing
This
there,
is
but it's
yeah.
moving.
This man's asking a very important question, and that is that if I'm driving in my car 100 miles an hour and I got a fly inside my car, it doesn't know that it's traveling at 100 miles an hour. And I completely agree with you, sir. But what if I took the roof off your car?
Yeah, that would be different.
Okay, so now you're using an example of a car with a fixed roof. What is the fixed roof on the globe?
The atmosphere.
No, there's atmosphere inside the car.
And the magnetic field. I'm not a physicist. I'm not sure.
There's no magnet that you can get that I could run through this park and carry the air with me.
If it is as big as the Earth.
Now that's what they tell us when we're 6 years old. They say, oh, because it's so big, you can't prove this. Well, there you go. You've just said it. We cannot prove that this is happening. Because in reality, when I move my hand through the wind will be disturbed, but kind of resettle afterwards. It will not. Some of it may follow my hand for a little while, but I'm not able to catch it in a cup. It's just going to stay where it is. My car, when it's doing 100 miles an hour, is disturbing a little bit of air around the car, but most of the car will settle within a few seconds of my car having gone past. We understand this, right? So how is it that possible that we've got an Earth that's spinning at 1,000 miles an hour at ground level, and then for every 10 miles up, you've got to exponentially increase that speed if you want to keep the atmosphere in line with you? That's all poppycock in science. You need to have something to motivate, to push that air. Yes, you can have winds, high pressure, low pressure, you can create these systems, yes, but you're not going to be able to get the wind to stay with the trees. It's just going to keep moving through, or stay with your car. It's just going to keep moving past, and stay with the plane. People who've researched this and they really hate the idea that the Earth might be flat, and they've been lied to their entire lives, do research and come up with something called Coriolis force. And they will say that a sniper making a shot over a mile is going to have to adjust for the spin of the Earth. That too is bullshit. I was a long-range gunner in the army. I went to war in a country called Angola in the 1980s, and my life depended very much on being able to shoot tanks at a mile's range. And I know that we never had to allow for any curve or spin of the Earth or what direction we happen to be spinning, because if you're landing a plane or firing a bullet, then your north-south direction or east-west direction will have a huge bearing if Coriolis or the spin of the Earth has anything to do with it. We never had to allow, yes, wind, height, those are the factors that we had to account for, but not for the spin of the Earth.
Because we're too small.
Because we're too small.
Because we're too small. It's like in physics. You know that, okay, like we have the physics, the laws of physics from Newton, and all that. But when you're dealing with two small things, like in like quantum physics, okay, when you're dealing with atoms and all that, laws are different.
Laws are different. Yeah, I mean, actually, yeah, that's true. That's true. And if you study,
so to me, it is like that.
Okay.
We are so small that the universe mechanics does not.
I love it. Okay, well, now that is a good and well prepared response, I think. But when you study quantum physics, you'll find that they actually snigger at Newton, even at Einstein. because there are elements of the relativity, general theory of relativity, that do not stand up to quantum physics.
Yep.
And the same is
They don't
true.
match. They
Yeah,
don't
and the same is true with the welling of and the bending of time of space, and the mass attracting mass from Newton. All of these things start to fall apart when you get to quantum, and you realize that actually everything is intertwined. Everything has got an electromagnetic connection or bond that until you break it, say when you burn a pile of fire wood, yeah, you're breaking those bonds and you're creating heat and light. You've taken 100 kilos of wood, you've turned it into a few hundred grams of ash, and only thing that left was heat and light. So where's all that weight gone? That weight was simply electromagnetic bonds. And so when they talk about gravity in quantum physics, they put it 0 to the minus 30 times smaller. Like, I mean, I'm talking 30 digits times smaller than the electromagnetic and the strong gravitational forces. They are, the gravity completely falls apart when you get into quantum physics. So everything is kind of like an electromagnetic. So yes, we have an electrostatic charge, and the Earth itself has an electrostatic bias, I believe. So things are tending downwards, but they're only tending downwards because they displace less than they are, they displace less air than they weigh, you know, so you can obviously get a helium balloon to go up. Or if we fill this place with water, lots of things would go up.
There must be some other products.
Pardon me?
Other byproducts. Not only light, not only heat, you also produce carbon.
Gas? Do you mean like gas and stuff like that? Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't, but none of that, I mean, what's left, you know, the pile of ash is just a fraction, right? We understand that. So that weight has been transferred to heat and light. Fascinating, yes. Hi.
You have this level thing, right? Like water in a glass is not level, it rises on the side.
Do you understand? Great question. Water on the glass, it rises on the side. What's that called?
Water close, well, capillary effect, but the same thing happens at the poles because of the big glaciers. Water is actually slightly higher. It clumps next to the glaciers. The glaciers melted, the water level will actually drop.
Well, it's kind of, it's kind of surface tension, what you're describing there. You know, so we understand that. That there would be an element of surface tension. So even with the sea, you know, obviously there's that surface tension is expressed as waves. You know, it's kind of like these waves that are lapping up. But let's just say I was to build a mirror. The way that they build a mirror is they put a pool of liquid oil, and then they form the mirror over the oil. Why? Because all bodies of liquid and gas are going to find a level strata unless disturbed. They're going to find a perfectly level strata. So that's actually how they make mirrors.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
what's your Twitch?
I don't know Twitch. I don't have that. I'm on YouTube. Trinity 4.
Trinity 4?
Yeah, I forgot my flyers. Oh yeah, it's on there. You can on there. It's Trinity 4. I'm going to set up my cam, but that's it's an important point. I don't disagree with you that there is surface tension, which is why people say, but we see a raindrop or a bubble of water on a leaf, for example. So that's proof that we can have a sphere. That's all about the tension of the surfaces that it's on.
That's the point of it. That's the point that within like you have 3 diagrams here, and even those diagrams actually should be different, right? If you had some sort of indicator like that, it just be like that.
I think there is. Yeah, I think but I think we're splitting hairs though,
The point
because.
is that to writ large is what happens next to glaciers.
But no, you see. Okay. Let me just correct you a little bit, because it's a slight exaggeration to say that because I have surface tension in my glass, if I magnified that up 1 billion times, I would have that little rim is now a mile high. Well, of course, we understand that the surface tension is only going to be relative to that little bit of environment that's connecting to the ice wall or to connecting to the lake side or whatever. But when we look over a lake, a still lake, we see a perfect mirror of the image beyond. It's because the water's not bending It's a perfectly flat.
With something like
Aside
glaciers,
from that.
that's big. Glaciers
Yeah.
have their own mass, and they have their own gravitational impact.
Yep.
As a result, sea
Yep.
level is slightly higher in Greenland than it is in Australia.
The-
compared to the land.
Yeah, well,
It's
actually,
more higher by the mass of the
Well,
glaciers, not by the surface tension, by the gravitational pull.
the gravitational pull of that. No, that I mean that you see, that's kind of like inserting. That's the explanation, and that's the only explanation. Whereas I would say, well, there are, potentially, if you're open to it, hearing that there are alternate ways of building that. Because if I had to say to you, right, let's take the size of Hyde Park and turn it into a model of a flat Earth. I would fill 70% of it with water, and I would allow about 30% to be sticking out. And then I'd take little rowboats and I'd be able to go around those continents. Now, exactly where is the frozen parts and where is the not frozen parts? Well, we could have a conversation about that, but I can create that. I could put a fan here and a fan there and then create the winds. The idea that we can then take a ball, a sphere, and in any way scale, get it to get the water to attract to it in little pools and ponds and lakes underneath the ball and so on. And for people, other than spiders maybe, but for people to walk around and travel underneath that without ever knowing that stuff is impossible.
With one caveat, right? That's what you're saying here. Why does the butterfly, why is it able to create gravity, right? Gravity is weak, right? It only takes only at very large scale does the scale overweigh the actual weakness.
But that happens to match perfectly with buoyancy and density. Like if I come from South Africa, and if I leave Durban, where I'm on the coast, and travel up to Johannesburg, one of the highest capital cities in the world, well, Pretoria is the capital city, but if I had to travel up there, I've traveled up over 1,000 meters in one flight, in one moment, in 1 hour, actually. And I can find that the same scale will tell me that my weight is different in that just in that little bit of environment. So, the idea that in 1 kilometer versus the 6,000.
You need an assumption.
Well, I'll give you an example of that. The last time I flew out of South Africa, I flew from Cape Town to Johannesburg, coast to above that, and I used the airport scales. I used the airport scales to weigh my bags, and they're very accurate. They have to be. And I was 200 grams heavier. I took my planes off one plane, put it on the next scale, and they were 200 grams heavier. Now, when I was in science class, they taught me that. They said, by the way, if you travel to Johannesburg tomorrow, you'll find yourself heavier. Why? Because you're in a thinner environment. And the thinner the environment, the heavier you become. The denser the environment, the lighter you become. Because take that same scale into a swimming pool and immerse yourself up to your belly button and see how it's reading now. It'll go, oh no, you only weigh 30 kilos now.
No way, but that's not to do with the density.
That's to do with the
With the
intensity?
distance you have from the center of the Earth, the center of gravity.
No, the swimming pool
Yeah, but the
example.
reason in Durban, that's not.
No.
The distance to
No.
the
What is the distance to the center of the Earth?
I don't remember.
It's 6,000. It's 4,000 miles, 6,000 kilometers to the center. So no, 1 kilometer. If that's meant to be, then I should be able to do lots of experiments that kind of
I don't
demonstrate.
understand what's the lighter environment in Durban.
Well, I gave you the example of the swimming pool.
No, I get that.
The swimming pool is an extreme example of that. But we know that as we go up Everest, the air gets thinner and thinner. Yes.
That doesn't affect your weight.
Yes, it does.
Weight.
Yes, it does. I mean, your mass won't change, but your weight will change. You will weigh heavier the lighter the atmosphere. Yeah. And the denser the atmosphere.
I have less air on my shoulders pressing on the scale.
It's not about the air on your shoulders. It's about the displacement. Have you ever seen the experiment where they take an iron anvil and float it in mercury?
Yeah.
You've seen that, yeah?
Yeah.
So now that heavy thing is weightless because you've changed the medium of the surrounding environment. And that's all that is. So all we are is an expression of the environment that we're in. A fish feels weightless in the sea, but heavy and floppy once it comes into
So
the
we're
air.
not floating anyway.
Yeah?
We're not floating.
We're not floating because we are like crabs. Crabs don't float around the bottom of the sea. They walk around. They're in a perfect buoyancy, so that for them, even if they're at like 2 miles of depth, for them they're at the perfect buoyancy. And they, for us, it would crush us, of course, or we would float up or whatever. But they're at the perfect density. And so no, we are right now. Our Earth is the perfect. Our atmosphere is the perfect environment, the perfect density for us to exist healthily and not be too heavy. But yes, if we go in a pool, we become lighter. And if we go up to altitude, we actually become heavier because we've got less air to carry us. Why can they not take a 747 above 50,000 feet?
But no air carries.
Answer my question.
on top of the mountain.
Answer my question.
Yeah, there is a point that, but
They-
no, that's
because
the
it-
way planes fly. That's something to do
They
with
because they
top
cannot
thrust.
fly.
That's the
Yeah, they
point.
can. We cannot go above
We are not
70,000 feet.
floating here. We're not floating on the top of the mountain in Johannesburg. There's no air supporting us.
No.
There's air around us.
Yeah, I mean, it is in a way support. I mean, that's why it's good to use the water example, because in water you get a sense of being held.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Because you can match the forces exactly there.
Yeah.
Once you're pushing down.
Yeah. Is it? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Newton.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Newton.
It's not that I don't like Newton. It's not that I don't like Newton. In fact, I think that Principia was published after his death, and he didn't actually want to publish everything that was there, but he was captured by the Vatican, and they forced it really. So I think I'm not sure that you know I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's a lot of good stuff there. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, how you doing?
Flat Earth.
Yes.
What's on the edge?
The edge, an ice ring. But you know what I say to people is that it's not like there's an edge that we can fall off. Although some people argue that there's more land that they're hiding from us beyond the ice wall. There's this thing called the Antarctic Treaty, signed by Russia, America, all the big countries of the world back in the 1950s, where they banned us from going beyond 70 south. Yeah, you can go 60 south to 70 on a commercial thing. After 70, military permission only. Yeah, and then even then when you go, you only get like a little 10 square mile, 100 square mile radius of this. You know, it's like coming to London and saying, I've seen the United Kingdom. No, you haven't. You've got a lot to see still. And you don't know what's up in Scotland or Wales or whatever. So I think that the truth is that we live in an enclosed system, just like an egg, if you like, to keep it simple, like a cosmic egg. It's enclosed. Gases would escape into the vacuum of space if that were true. Thermodynamics demands if you want a deodorant can, keep it closed. If you puncture it, immediate equalization of pressure. It has to be the Coke has to be sealed, otherwise the pressure is bleeding off all the time. So we have to be in an enclosed system. There's a roof. It's kind of biblical, not that I'm selling the Bible, but it's kind of like there is a lid. And in fact, if you look into operations, cheers, officer, if you look into operations Fishbowl, you'll find that Operation Fishbowl was to send rockets up, nukes they said, but to send rockets up and hit the roof. And there's actually footage of them hitting something. There's stories that you can't, when Admiral Byrd, the American who spent 15 years exploring Antarctica, he said, I found land bigger than America no one's ever stood on. You can find that video on YouTube. He's on the Longines TV show. He's a big guy. He's a very important guy. He had 3 ticker tape parades through New York in his lifetime. And he's on TV saying, I found land that no man has ever seen before. All the best. No man has ever seen before. And then the next year he suddenly dies. I think that there is much more land. There are stories of planes hitting a roof at 13,000 feet out there. So perhaps there is a dome and perhaps it closes off. But it's kind of biblical. God created this place. And maybe it was in just the 6 days. And that the sun and the moon are small lights, as the Bible says. And it says also in the Quran that the sun and the moon, they travel over the earth. Which is true on the flat earth, not true on the heliocentric deception. Because obviously the sun is this massive thing that they've moved 13 times. At the moment it's 93 million miles away, but it was once 103.
Bigger, sun or the air?
The Earth. Earth is superior, sun is inferior. The sun is the main light and the moon is the secondary light, but the earth is the heart. It's an anagram for heart. Did you know that? Earth and heart is the same letters.
You think the light coming from the sun or created?
The light is coming from the sun. I believe the light is coming from the sun, but I don't believe you are actually seeing the sun, as we are all looking at exactly the same point in the sky. Depending on if we're standing here, both of us looking at the sun, we're looking at the same place. But if your friend is on the equator,
But
he's
even-
looking somewhere else.
God tell we create light and dark.
We create.
And God in the Quran, he
Yeah.
said we create the light and dark.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the light not from the sun.
Well, there's 3 elements. One is there's the daylight, and then there's the sun and the moon. So God puts daylight, day 3, I think, daylight, and then he puts the sun for the day, the moon for the night, and the stars for signs and seasons to tell us when things are going to happen. And I tell you what, the Vatican owns the biggest telescope in the world. Why? Because they want to know exactly when the stars are in a correct alignment so that they can push the sheep, push the farm. Now it's time to get these sheep to go and fight with those sheep. That's what they do. Because they want to control, they want to be the shepherd when you're meant to be the shepherd. You should be controlling your own goats and sheep, not having some Vatican with the hook and the crook controlling your goats and sheep. You know, so we are meant to be the masters here, but we have given away mastery to religion, to government, to authority outside of us, outside of God, because we are the vehicle for God. We are the expression of God. God exists and wrote on our heart the truth of what we need to know. And yet we are fighting, brother and sister, because we have been, set against each other by all of these deceptions and hardship. And as I said earlier on, if the earth is flat, earth will never run out of oil. Oil is being made, pumped faster than your body can make blood. This earth is so big and it's creating oil all the time, like your body makes blood. You can give blood once a month if you want to. Your body will make more. The same is true with the Middle East. They told us in the 1970s we were running out of oil. Here today we are pumping much more oil 50 years later. How's that possible?
Thank you.
All the best, brother. All the best. Any questions from you folks? Thanks for stopping by. Cheers. Cheers. Hey, I am live. I am live. Hello. I'm gonna set up my.
You think the air like this?
I think that's possible, I think I've seen that before.
I think
That there are other.
I think the air is not ending. It's not the
Never ending, yeah.
It's not what.
Yeah, they're like an infinite plane, maybe. I like that theory.
We have sky. We need to have the space as the sky, the ground.
Everything is parallel. Yes. Good luck, brother. Cheers, man. Yeah, stay well. How you guys doing? I just got chatting, and I was like half an hour in. I'm like, I better pull the camera out. I haven't even set it up. So it's nice to have the plots come by and not give me grief. That was a bonus. I don't know if the speaker will work now that I'm already in the stream. It's, you can give me an audio check in a minute when I plug it in. Why is it saying that? I didn't bring my flyers today. It says orientation is locked. I actually can't read the screen. Don't have the glasses right now. I might end the stream and start again in a little while. So stay with me and come back in a little while. Right, yes. Well, the sea is full. We've got mountains, of course, but the sea level for east coast of America and the west coast is only 9 inches different. The water is pretty much on level. Same as Suez. Suez Canal, 120 kilometers.
And even we cannot travel to the where this one south.
No.
We cannot travel there.
Antarctica. No.
Antarctica, yeah.
They keep that very locked down.
down.
A few countries, and all the countries that are near South Africa, Australia,
And what do we have in the Quran? We have, one of some of human is Ajuj and Majuj. They are billions. They will come end of the life. But where these people living? It's Ajuj and Majuj. Read about it.
Okay.
Ajuj and Majuj.
Ajuj, Majuj. I will look into that, and because I think it's possible. Yes, there are
Big. They are a human, but their life is too high, and he will stay alive maybe more than 1,000 years.
Yes.
And they are, they will see his generation 1,000 from his generation. It means they are billions where they are.
And they don't want us to
And
go there
even
because we are too
God,
low.
he make 7 sky and
Yes,
7 lands.
yes.
Where the 7 lands?
Yes. Yes.
It's all in Quran. We believe that the earth is big. It's not possible to be. We are poor. And all earth from photos, it's Photoshop.
Fake.
Fake. And even satellites.
Yes.
They're not
fake.
using satellites.
They
no
use
satellites.
helium balloons.
Helium
And they can
balloon
float a little
and
thing.
even the bridges of to connection this for phone.
And even the
bridges.
aeroplanes. I think they're using the aeroplanes as a to carry a tower.
Even all photo from this one for
Satellite.
not satellite. This
No.
one for people going to sit. What's the name? They're moving in the sky. They,
ISS.
yeah.
International Space Station.
Space. When they take photo, even the photo you will see is something wrong with.
Yes.
They cannot see. Even if you see in the end, you cannot see يعني okay, almost maybe for the camera you can see the shape of the people because the camera like fish eye.
Fish eye.
They see the the curve of but
Yeah.
it's
all fake.
things all fake.
Spacewalkers in
And
their swimming pool.
even they use by my Sunnis and the speak people they
They're
they
controlling
control
us.
everything. They control news, oil, petrol, everything. And petrol will not finish. We not believe that petrol
No.
will finish after 50 years. We produce. We are an oil country, UAE. We have too much oil from long time. Oh, we find other oil, gas. Oh, we found, we found. Well, really.
Yeah. How come you got oil from there?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, new
No,
techniques.
New
techniques. Yeah,
there is
yeah,
other
yeah, yeah.
place. That's for me. I believe it's because I listen to many people debate about this stuff.
Okay.
Because not possible. Yani it's like our earth is small,
That's,
and the sun is smaller than earth.
yeah.
Because we are big. Sun is follow the moon.
Yes.
I think our who's the
Well,
follow.
yeah, the moon is a little bit slower than the sun.
Sun will.
15, 12 degrees a day or something.
Okay, the light of the moon from where it's come?
Well, I think it's electromagnetic. So
Yeah,
you know,
it's not from the sun.
No, no.
Yeah, because that I believe. Because sometimes we see moon and sun and
Yeah.
half moon. Why it's not fully light?
Yeah. And we see the moon in the daytime.
Daytime,
Most of the time.
half.
Yeah, half.
Why
And-
it's the sun?
Yeah,
Sun
yeah,
big
yeah,
and
yeah.
it mean must be full light.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you put light
Yeah,
on
yeah,
sun, it will be
yeah,
full. But
yeah.
why it's half?
Yeah. And the part that is not in light should be dark shadow, but
Dark
actually in
shadow.
the daytime it's
It's-
blue. And then the new moon, when the moon travels, or eclipse, when the moon travels in front of the sun, you should see a silhouette. Never see
And
it.
read in
For 2
Quran,
days.
in Quran even God said you cannot enter the sky until you take permission from me. And one ayah on Quran, write it and you will see. There is permission to cross the first sky.
So all this NASA, SpaceX, it's all, yeah, but it's all against God. It's all like trying to, push, spit in God's face, really. You see, that's what they're doing. And people are cheering. And they go, yeah, look at us. No, you're actually harming, you're trying to shame God, and shame on you.
Yeah, I know that. But they want to send picture for people
Yeah.
to see and believe it only. And some people, even in Arabic, and people who has debate about round, many of our friends in Arab, they not believe that Earth is flat. And even
No.
what I say, I keep in middle. I said no approve for the Earth is round, and no approve if the Earth is flat.
Good man.
Everyone have something to do, but
Yeah.
you cannot approve
Yeah.
that it's
Yeah.
not flat.
Yeah. But the trust that it's a globe means you trust this master who is lying to you. You see, and putting your trust in a deceiver is what we are warned against. Don't trust the deceiver.
And even they create by my son all this and shaitan, with the what name this one shaitan what you the devil by devil.
The devil, yeah.
No, they already they have
made a-
meeting with
made a deal.
devils.
Yes.
Sure. They have as much this power from where
Yes. Okay.
richer family.
Good luck, brother.
Okay.
Salam alaikum. So I'm gonna take a little coffee break. And,